This is the new Celestial Nighthawk. We are 2600 power, so that's going to feel very similar to a Grandmaster Nightfall. And in here we do have the Solar Surge. And with the rework to Celestial Nighthawk, it not only got a 25% damage bonus on the Golden Gun damage, but it also receives anywhere from 1 to, I believe, 4.5% super energy on precision kills. We have other things in our kit as well, such as Gunpowder Gamble, which is effective at stunning unstoppable champions as it creates an ignition. But what you're going to see here in this gameplay footage is the fact that this build is able to just absolutely destroy enemies such as Overload champions without even stunning them. One of the key things that you need to remember is Radiant also buffs the damage of Golden Gun. Radiant is a 25% damage bonus. And while 1.5% and 4.5%, depending on the target type, don't sound like a lot, we have to remember that when we do kill something with our Celestial Nighthawk Golden Gun, that we are refunded up to a third of our super energy. So we're going to be able to get our super back much faster once we do completely destroy a target with that Golden Gun. So then we can start that loop over again, and it won't be as difficult to get the super back at that point. But the next thing that we need to mention is how ridiculous the artifact is for helping this build in endgame content. There's a lot on this season's artifact that is going to push this build up in its potential as to what it is able to accomplish in the neutral game state. That way you can get to that super and take advantage of the Golden Gun. We have perks such as Radiant being able to cause solar weapons to scorch unscorched targets, and then you can get Radiant with just rapid solar weapon precision hits or rapid solar weapon kills. Wished into Being is going to ensure that we're able to use Gunpowder Gamble, our grenade, and our knife of choice to secure extra orbs of power to help top off our super energy and get us to our Golden Gun faster. We're also able to buff our super damage when we cast that Golden Gun near allies from the artifact perk Heart of the Flame. On top of all that, when we are Radiant, Solar Precision Final Blows are going to cause targets to ignite. And last but not least, if you are engaging in content that has champions, Revitalizing Blast is going to allow you to weaken champions when you damage them with a solar ability. So now that we've covered all the artifact mods that are going to make this Solar Hunter Golden Gun Nighthawk build the best that it can be, let's start looking at the way that we're going to build with the fragments, aspects, and armor mods. So I have two different builds. I have a third build, but because solar weapons are the focus for this build, it doesn't work right now, but in a future season, look out for this build because I think it's going to be extremely meta. But let's dive in to the very first build for solo play. In this solo build, we're focusing on having max uptime of restoration by using our throwing knife to get radiant. After that, we're going to use our healing grenade to provide ourselves with restoration. As we continue to have restoration, we can generate a lot of orbs, as you see there. And these orbs are going to give us the armor charges that we need to get our class ability back. Now, why do we want our class ability back? Great question. The reason we want our class ability back is because we want to be able to generate as many orbs as possible. Generating orbs is a way that we're going to get to the super faster. Yes, precision hits are going to reduce the cooldown of your Golden Gun, but also being able to generate orbs is going to help as well. So I have a couple different ways that we're going to be able to do that, and one is through the Reaper mod and the other one through the Heavy-Handed mod. Now, Heavy-Handed did receive a recent cooldown penalty that they added to it to where you can only generate a powered melee kill orb with Heavy-Handed once every 10 seconds. So we're not just going to be able to constantly generate an orb with it, but it is something to keep in mind as a way to generate an extra orb. So we have Focusing Strike, Reaper, and Heavy-Handed, where dodge, then weapon kill for orb. Heavy-Handed, every powered melee every 10 seconds is going to spawn an orb, and Focusing Strike is going to give us back class ability energy every time we hit that powered melee, so we're able to loop Reaper and make orbs like that. With all the armor charges that we're getting from the orbs, we're going to be spending them with Utility Kickstart so we can get class ability energy back with all of those other mods combined with what we're doing. So that way we can get Reaper to activate again for our next weapon kill to generate an orb. It was nerfed, and let me tell you, it's not a lot of class ability that you're getting back, even on short cooldowns. This is one of those mods that they hit pretty hard, but it's still worth it because we want to be able to get back as fast as possible so we can make another orb of power. So that's the gameplay loop. Essentially, as a solo player, what you're going to really be doing there to get yourself back to your golden gun. Now, keep in mind everything I said. We know that we have Gambler's Dodge, Knife Trick, and Healing Grenade. Now, Knock 'em Down, like I said, is required because while Radiant Final Blows with your equipped throwing knife will fully refund your melee energy, that's going to be our fan of knives. You can change this if you have a different preference. Now, the other aspect that I'm going with is Gunpowder Gamble because I like the ability to stun unstoppables with it, and it's just extra free grenade damage, and we're giving up our grenade by having a healing grenade because we're solo. We don't have a Warlock with a well, we don't have Rifts, we don't have Banner of War. So let's go with this Gunpowder Gamble so we can still have a grenade. Now we are using Ember of Torches, which we talked about, but the other thing that you have to know is that Knife Trick scorches enemies. When we're scorching an enemy, our class ability is going to recharge faster. That's wonderful because that feeds into everything else that we're doing, and it doesn't really feel like the utility kickstart nerfs hurt that much. Next, we're going to be using Ember of Empyrean because I want the restoration to continue on in the build. So our solar weapon or ability final blows, and that also includes that Gunpowder Gamble, will extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to us. Yes, I know all the artifact mods can help keep us continually radiant, but this is about the restoration, being able to stay up. Then, lastly, Ember of Searing. Defeating scorched targets grants melee energy, and it creates a fire sprite. So a fire sprite is going to grant us grenade energy, and that's our healing grenade. So as we pick those up, we're going to get grenade energy. And we know that we're going to be making them because we're going to be defeating scorched targets from our Knife Trick, and with our artifact mods, we're going to be scorching everything on the battlefield as well. So all of these are going to pair together and synergize perfectly in the build. Now what I want to move on to talking about is the team play centered Nighthawk build. So let's get into breaking down what we have for this build. It should be a little bit shorter as we've covered most of the basics already. So what we have that's different is a different aspect, which provides an additional fragment slot. It provides 3 fragments instead of 2 because Gunpowder Gamble only provides 2. I'm using an actual grenade. I'm using a solar grenade here. I've switched my knife. This is just my preference in this style, but I've switched to Acrobat's Dodge. With Acrobat's Dodge, I'm going to be able to make me and my teammates radiant on command. I like this because on the opening of an engagement, we can begin the encounter by just making me and all my nearby allies radiant. And it provides insane utility and synergy for the first new fragment in the build. So we've replaced torches with Acrobat because we can just dodge and get radiant on command with Acrobat as well. And so what we've replaced in the build is torches, and we've replaced it with benevolence. When we apply radiant to nearby allies, it's going to provide 400% increase to the base grenade, melee, and class ability regeneration for a short duration. Now, that may not seem like that big of a benefit because Acrobat Dodge has a longer cooldown than a traditional dodge, and we could just go with torches. But what I'm trying to really do here is make sure I have my grenade available in the build more often because we've gotten rid of Gunpowder Gamble, and this fragment helps with that. Now, the other thing that it synergizes together with is our 5th fragment, which is our second new fragment for the team play focused Nighthawk build. And that is Ember of Mercy. Now, picking up a fire sprite will grant restoration. We don't have a healing grenade, and we do still have searing to be able to make fire sprites. So these fire sprites are going to give us just restoration for about 3 seconds, and it's tier 1, but it does help when you're in a rough situation. Between Ember of Mercy and recuperation on our legs, we are able to take advantage of both Orbs of Power as a method of healing and fire sprites as a method of healing. Now, the one thing that's unique about this and how it synergizes with benevolence is that when you resurrect an ally, you're going to apply restoration to him and you'll get restoration as well. And when that happens, that procs Ember of Benevolence. So these activities that we're doing in the coil when we're going for platinum, you will die a good amount. Even some of the best players I've played with are going to die, and it's going to happen, and you're going to have to revive them, and you're going to get just a huge 400% increase in class ability, grenade, and your melee. So let's look at the armor mods now. There's going to be a lot of different changes here because I'm playing in a team-based setting, and I have some different strategies that I want to put together for this build. What I'm really doing here is taking advantage of our armor charges, and instead of using them to generate more orbs because you're alone and you need more orbs to be able to survive, what this is actually going to do is maximize damage and maximize uptime of your golden gun. How we're going to accomplish that is by using our armor charges with time dilation. So with time dilation, we're going to have an extension up to 15 seconds for each armor charge that we have. We're running stacks on stacks. So any of the orbs that we're making with our harmonic siphon, with our solar weapons, and we know how juiced these solar artifact perks are. We have things like Flint Striker, Heart of the Flame, and then we also have Revitalizing Blast and Rays of Precision, as well as Kindling Trigger. We know how juiced it is, so let's take advantage of a synergy that Golden Gun has with kinetic weapon surge bonuses. It actually benefits from it, so this is going to be 10%. And with the recent buff to snipers, Izanagi's is hitting for 15% more damage as a flat bonus. So you can also use something like Witherhoard if you want, and it's going to benefit from that extra 10%. Now, while we have those armor surges going, what we're also going to be looking at taking advantage of is Font of Wisdom. Now, if we look over here at our super, we can see that we are at 10 minutes and 30 seconds for a passive super cooldown. We move it up a tier and it goes up a whole another minute. Now, when we move it up 30 points, this is 30 points. When you combine two, it's 50 points of intellect. That actually takes our super up to tier 7 anytime we're holding these surges. And just one orb from Reaper is going to make it so that we have 30 full seconds of kinetic weapon damage bonus for Izzy, and also kinetic weapon damage bonus for Golden Gun. Then on our arms, we're just using some utility mods to generate some additional ability energy. Bolstering Detonation is a new one that we didn't touch on, as well as Momentum Transfer. So one way that we're trying to offset the long cooldown that we have for Acrobat's Dodge, which synchronizes really well, getting our allies radiant in the opening engagement, is going to be Bolstering Detonation. We're going to get class ability when we cause damage with a grenade. We know we're going to be throwing grenades on bosses and champions to weaken them with the artifact perk Revitalizing Blast. Next, we're going to have Focusing Strike, class ability when we cause damage with our powered melee, just as we had in the previous build. Then we're also going to use Momentum Transfer so we can cause damage with that grenade, but this time it's going to give us a reduction in our melee cooldown so we can throw it again and get more class ability energy. So the goal of this build is to capitalize on having the best passive super energy that you can have, while also having a damage bonus for your kinetic weapon and the Golden Gun. So we're getting extra super energy, not only just from Font of Wisdom, we're getting extra super energy because of the rework to Celestial Nighthawk, where precision final blows are going to reduce the cooldown. When we're in combat and we kill something, we get super energy, but this Hawkeye hack is now giving us extra super energy. Font of Wisdom is the passive cooldown of the super, which is just going to help in the background without even thinking about it. Then when you do go to cast it, boom, you've got kinetic weapon surge on, and so it's going to deal an extra 10% damage on top of everything that you're doing already. And it can also benefit from being radiant as well and deal extra damage. So it's just capitalizing and min-maxing for the Golden Gun. Thank you guys all for watching this video. I do appreciate all of your subscriptions as well as your comments, and liking the video is also greatly appreciated. This went longer than I expected, so I'm actually not going to do the third build, which was going to be based on Bad Juju. I'll save that one for another day. But thank you guys all so much for watching. You guys have an excellent day.